Birthdays are supposed to be loud with easy happiness, the kind that doesn't need translation. Mine started that way. The living room had too many chairs and not enough places to put the bowls. Someone tied a ribbon to the dog. My mother argued with a candle as if it owed her an apology for breaking last year. The cake sat in the center of the table like a promise. Smooth frosting, pale as a cloud, a crown of berries that made everyone hum with approval. Nut-free, right? I'd asked the bakery twice, then once more in writing because I have a severe allergy and I've learned that paper listens longer than people. When the lights dimmed, the room leaned toward me, voices braided into the birthday song, off-key and perfect. Cameras came out, the dog barked on the high note. I smiled the way you smile when you're trying to hold a moment still. Then I felt the gentle tug on my sleeve. My daughter's face had drained of color. Her eyes were too big for the room. She leaned so close her breath moved the candle flames and whispered, "Don't touch the cake." The song kept going because crowds never noticed the one person whose world just tilted. I put my hand over hers. "Okay," I whispered back, and I meant it more than I've meant anything in a long time. The knife hovered above the frosting like a decision. I lowered it. "Wait," I said lightly, like I'd forgotten something festive. I lifted a sparkler from the table and waved it at the ceiling. "One more photo with the sparkler," I laughed. Cameras turned toward light, not toward fear. That's the first magic trick you learn as a mother. While attention shifted, I moved the cake 4 inches away from the edge of the table and set the knife down. "Cupcakes," I turned to my cousin, who'd brought a tower of them just in case, which is the kind of cousin you keep forever. "Let's do cupcakes first. They're cuter on camera." A few people groaned, purists, cake traditionalists, people who don't like when rituals change without permission. I smiled at them the way you smile at clouds. My daughter squeezed my fingers once, the squeeze that means thank you and I'm scared in the same breath. When the lights came back up, the room was busy with frosting choices and arguments about who got the one with extra sprinkles. I set the cake in the fridge and closed the door like I was putting fear on timeout. We lit a single cupcake, sang again, and I wished the kind of wish you don't say out loud. Let today tell the truth. Only when we were alone in the hallway did my daughter speak. Her words came out like she thought each one had to ask permission. "I was in the kitchen," she whispered. "I went to get plates. I saw," she swallowed. "I saw Aunt Marina standing by the cake. She had a small jar. She sprinkled something and then smoothed the frosting. When she saw me, she said, 'Go help your mother.'" She was smiling, but not. There's a kind of silence parents make for their kids. It is soft walls and a floor that doesn't move. I built that silence around her and asked the right questions. Where were her hands? Did you smell anything weird? Who else was there? Why would she do that? The last one slipped out before I could stop it. My daughter looked at the carpet like the answer might be woven into it. She said last week that you think you're better than everyone now. 12-year-olds hear more than they say. "And you're allergic," she added, voice small. "Peanut. I've carried an auto-injector since middle school. I can spot a dessert that's unsafe from a room away, but the cake had looked clean. The bakery had sworn it." I felt a wash of cold that had nothing to do with the fridge. "Thank you," I said, because gratitude teaches courage to come back next time. You did the bravest thing. Aunt Marina laughed too loudly in the other room, the way people laugh when they need the sound to work like perfume. I'm not a person who enjoys confrontation, but I am a person who understands procedures. Procedures don't care if it's your birthday. I texted my neighbor, the one who lives for emergency dessert rescues, and asked if she could bring the backup ice cream cake from her freezer. "Operation Midnight Frosting," she texted back because she names things. In the kitchen, I slipped a clean spatula under the edge of the frosting and lifted a curl the size of a promise. It smelled wrong, not obvious, not theatrical. Just wrong, a hint of something oily that didn't belong in joy. I sealed the slice into a new zip bag, labeled it with the time, and put it in our second fridge in the garage. Then I asked my brother to help me wrap the real cake for later, my voice cheerful enough to pass inspection. We boxed it and I wrote "hold" on the lid because ink turns intention into an object. The cupcakes did their job. People posted photos with filters that made our living room look like a magazine and not a place where a small child had just saved her mother. There are kinds of heroism that only 12-year-olds can reach. They're low to the ground where the truth is. After gifts, I stepped outside and called the bakery. "I need to confirm again that the cake was prepared nut-free," I said. The manager pulled up the order, read back my notes, and emailed me the nut-free guarantee with the batch number. Paper again. I asked her to hold their kitchen camera footage for the pickup window, which she agreed to because I sounded like a person who would ask nicely and then ask formally. Then I called the venue coordinator for our community center and asked them to preserve the security camera recordings from the kitchen door between the times I gave. He said, of course, because those 2 words sound good into a phone. I made a note of his name and the time. Notes are how you tell the future who you were. When I came back in, Aunt Marina was by the piano telling a story that had me as the villain, as usual. Something about me changing since the promotion, about me thinking I deserve better frosting and better everything. I didn't look at her. I looked at my daughter, whose shoulders had come down half an inch since the cupcakes. That half inch is why I moved through the rest of the night like a person who trusts gravity again. Family left with leftovers. The dog finally shook the ribbon off and forgave us. When the house was quiet, I sat at the kitchen table with my daughter and a glass of water and the kind of list you make when you don't want to make a mistake. Tomorrow, I said, we talk to Dr. Patel for documentation of my allergy. We drop a sample at the lab for a basic screening, and we request the footage. She nodded like we were planning a field trip. Am I in trouble for not telling you sooner? She asked. You told me at the first possible moment, I said. You saved my life. She started to cry then, the soft kind that shakes happiness awake. I put my arms around her and let her be the size of my baby for a minute. In the morning, the world wore its weekday face. Dr. Patel wrote a letter that said my name and severe allergy and risk of anaphylaxis in a font that makes people listen. The community center emailed back to confirm the footage hold. The bakery manager forwarded their internal checklist: nut-free prep, separate tools, clean station. I printed everything and slid it into a cheap folder that suddenly felt very expensive. By noon, my cousin sent me a video from last night. It was meant to be a funny montage of party prep chaos: a pan falling, the dog stealing a napkin, Aunt Marina waving a small jar near the cake while telling my daughter to run along. The frame wobbled, but you didn't have to be a detective to see what it showed. I didn't drive to Aunt Marina's house. I didn't call her to demand a confession I wouldn't get. I did something better. I sent a group message to the family chat we usually reserve for holiday menus and weather panic. Hey everyone, I wrote. Thanks for celebrating last night. Quick update. The bakery has confirmed our cake was nut-free at pickup. I am severely allergic. I have preserved a portion of the cake and requested the venue's footage. If anyone has videos or photos from the kitchen area between time and time, please email them to me today. I will be filing an incident report regarding suspected food tampering. The chat exploded into the usual chorus. Why wait, what happened? Are you sure? You're overreacting. One message came quietly. My cousin asked if I needed the original high-res file. Yes, please, I wrote, because yes and please are powerful together. At 3, the venue manager called. We reviewed the footage enough to know we should preserve it, he said carefully. We see a guest near the cake doing something to the surface. He took a breath. We'll comply with any formal requests. Thank you, I said. You're doing the right thing. At 5, I sent a short email to Aunt Marina with the subject line, incident and next steps. Inside, I wrote, for safety and clarity, please direct all communication to me in writing. Based on witness statements, images, and preserved food, I will be filing a report. Until this is resolved, do not contact or approach my child. I attached Dr. Patel's letter, the bakery guarantee, a still from the cousin's video, and the list of times the venue was preserving. Her response came fast and messy. How dare you? It was a joke. You've changed. This is family. The word joke has covered a lot of crimes in our house. I filed the report with the non-emergency line and followed it with an online form the officer sent, a quiet stack of boxes that asked for time, place, risk, evidence. I filled each one like I was icing a cake I wanted to serve to a courtroom. Days have a way of pretending they are endless until they aren't. By Friday, the venue had provided the footage to the investigator. By Monday, my neighbor had printed the texts everyone had forgotten she'd sent about, "Don't let Marina near the desserts, she's being weird." People forget that phones are diaries with a search function. When the call came, I was folding towels. We're moving forward, the officer said. There's sufficient evidence of tampering and reckless endangerment. We'll contact the involved party. You're within your rights to pursue a restraining order and civil damages. The next family gathering was smaller. You could feel the missing piece, the way you feel a pulled tooth with your tongue. My mother pressed a napkin into my hand and whispered, "This is tearing us apart." I looked at my daughter across the room and said, "No, this is stitching us back together with better thread." Civil court felt fluorescent and factual. I brought the folder. It had gotten thicker. Photos, emails, videos, the doctor's letter, the bakery guarantee, the venue's letter, the incident report. I didn't bring anger. I'd used it already to build the case. Aunt Marina tried to cry at the right moments and speak at the wrong ones. The judge watched the video twice without changing expression. The second time, no one moved. Judgment for the plaintiff, the judge said. Reimbursement for the cake and event, costs incurred, and additional damages. A separate protective order hearing is scheduled for next week. Afterward, Aunt Marina hissed, "You're dramatic." I said, "I'm alive." She flinched as if the word were a bright light. The practical ripples were immediate. She was disinvited from the community center for a year. She paid what the judgment required: the bakery bill, the venue fees, the doctor's visit, the lab fee, a therapy stipend for my daughter, and a charitable donation to the allergy foundation Dr. Patel recommended. I didn't ask for the last one. The judge did. I liked that. We changed the rules at home in ways you can see. At family events, desserts come sealed or not at all. Allergies are posted on the fridge like art. There's a no kitchen lingering rule for guests who want to be helpful without understanding how. People roll their eyes, people comply. The world doesn't end, it just gets safer. My daughter sleeps easier now. She still squeezes my hand at restaurants when the dessert menu appears, and I let her, because the body sometimes needs proof that what happened isn't happening now. She told her therapist she felt like she had X-ray glasses for grown-up behavior. I told her that's called intuition and also called survival. She asked if she could use it for math homework. I said I wished it worked like that. On the night the protective order was granted, we bought a tiny cake from a different bakery and ate it in the backyard with the porch light off. We didn't make a wish, we made a plan. This is how we do birthdays now, clean, calm, together, with a